Hello, good afternoon. Sorry we're a bit late. We've been recording the 1878 FM podcast that returns Mondays for your future reference. Will begin at 1:15, not 1 o'clock. I am joined by Paul Neelan from Irish Football Fan TV, obviously a huge Evertonian, as you can see. Good to see you, mate.
Good to be here. It's been a while. I think about a year and a half since I've been in studio. Not in a year and a half since I've been to a game. I just haven't been hanging on for the Monday, unfortunately. But no, I said I'd make a special case to come in now. So first game didn't go to plan, but here we are.
What's 48 hours since. And I know, listen, you're going to be doing the final bit with us, so we can get right into the nitty gritty of the game then. But what was your overall feeling since the game?
It's kind of like deja vu. It's like that old feeling of why do we get our hopes up?
Yeah.
And then it's just, but it was kind of killed, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Kind of from the starting lineup, you kind of got a sense of, oh, here we go again. Lessons not learned from this time last year. I think the Wolves game, I was over for that one, and they scored. We couldn't score, and I kind of got the sense of that in the first 20 minutes. Is that we looked good. We were putting these chances together, but just couldn't put the ball in the net. And I think when McNeil missed that chance, even though he was offside or whoever was offside,
summed it up.
They just should have put the ball in the net, because at least if you put the ball in the net, then you kind of go, all right, well, there's something coming here. But the fact that he didn't, and it was such a sitter, then they hit the post in and around that time as well, and you're kind of looking, going, the sign. I remember I turned to the fella sitting next to me and I said, if they score first, we're done, and they did.
Well, it's over 2 years. The last time Everton won a Premier League game at Goodison, when the opposition scored a goal, was the Crystal Palace game with Frank Lampard was here, which is over 2 years. So every game we've won, we've kept a clean sheet, which is terrifying, because it's that feeling. Like on Saturday when Matoma puts that in, you just go, have we got 2 goals in us to win? And are we all confident they ain't scoring again? And I think the thing for me with it was Brighton were pretty average. 2-0 up. I was sat there thinking, I don't know how these are winning 2-0. Now, if I'm a Brighton fan, I'm thinking, we're 2 up, we've not started, really. So you look at that from a positive, but from our perspective, I'm thinking, these have done nothing and they're winning 2-0. And the difference between the two was the pace in the final third, which is what we've been banging on for years. And are you a little bit surprised that Everton haven't tried to address that, bringing in a quick player, or are you not surprised in the slightest, because history tells you we just don't do that?
Well, I don't know whether I'm thinking that someone, maybe it's lost hope I have, and thinks someone might come in by the end of the window, but I don't think it's any use just bringing in one player with pace, because if that happens to that player, then the pace is immediately gone out of the game, so it's just a bit of a weird one. I think Beto does have pace about him, but he's just not the answer, and he's like a headless chicken running around, to be honest with you. But it's I thought he looked unfit. Like, I thought Mikalenko looked really unfit or something like that. Maybe it's because Minter was just electric, I don't know. But I just thought, normally Mikalenko, he can deal with quick players. Yeah, like Salah, he never has any problems really with him, like, overall. And those types of players. I think Saka even struggles a little bit against Mikalenko, and he's usually good one-on-one, but maybe he didn't know much about Minter, I don't know. But I just got the feeling he just didn't look that fit. And you were saying there about them, Brighton not really getting going. I mean, they were just kind of toying around with the ball at the back, and they were kicking the balls out of play. And from an Everton point of view, you would have been happy saying, look, we're causing them problems, they're struggling to get out. But then, as usual, we just don't capitalise. But to go back to your point about the kind of, it's just strange to me that he has Ndiaye, he has Lindstrom, and he has O'Brien, and none of them play or start for whatever reason. Jake O'Brien plays more in pre-season than Michael Keane towards the lead up to the Premier League, and you're thinking, surely with a bit of continuity, that's the case there. He comes in from Michael Keane there. Ndiaye obviously impressed towards the end of the game against Roma. You're thinking maybe he's there, because Decore hasn't done much, and as much as I love Decore for his goal scoring, he doesn't really provide anything else.
No.
He doesn't. Anytime we get up the pitch, he goes backwards with it when he has it. Now, I understand there's not too many of us up the pitch. It's usually just him and Dom, but I think Ndiaye would try to drive at them more so and get at them, and maybe then we get some bodies forward. I don't know, but when you look at Decore and his lack of technical ability in any way. Like, he's just terrible with the ball. He looks like he's like Bambi on ice. He looks like he's going to fall over every time he has the ball under his control. Now, he is good running, but that's like that, and then scoring, but that's all he seems to have. And that's kind of always what he's been like, in my opinion. Whether he drops into midfield in a deeper position, would that suit him more? I don't know, because, as I said there, he's a lack of technical ability on the ball. So what's he going to do when he gets it?
It's not a good point. I always think he's better away, the Corey. I think a lot of games at Goodison pass him by. I don't know whether...
This one definitely did.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's how we play. I think away from home, there's no emphasis on us whatsoever. And people will argue there's no emphasis on us at Goodison to go forward the way we play. But I think there's less emphasis on us to attack away. So it is more of a true counter-attacking style. And I feel like he's okay with that, because he has to drop in and help the midfield a little bit more away from home. And I think he thrives a little bit better, whereas at Goodison there's so many games that just pass him by. And if he isn't picking up a ball in and around the penalty spot to score, like you just said, what is he doing? Like on Saturday, Irabun put him through twice in the first half, below me, and he had the whole pitch to run into and slowed the game down. And it's like, open your legs, off you go.
Yeah.
He just, and I think
the question is, he slowing down as well?
That's it, isn't it? And for me, at half time, if I was Dyche, I'd have took the Corey off and put Ndiaye on and just gone, like, it's not working here, so let's get Ndiaye. We were getting beat anyway. Let's get Ndiaye off on. Let's lift the place.
And I think he did lift the place when he did come on. It's just too late as usual.
He was on when it was 10 men. He was in. He played in about 4 or 5 different positions, because it was just calamitous, wasn't it, when we went down to 10 men? I don't think anybody knew where they were playing.
But the last kind of couple of first home games have been like that. I think I've been at all of them, because of Chelsea the year before, and we ended up with Dele Alli up front because we had no strikers fit, and it was just so similar to that. It's just the first couple of games we just...
3, isn't it? Now the last 3. We've started the season, the last 3 home games, the last 3 seasons, and lost all of them.
Yeah, so it was Chelsea, Wolves, and
Chelsea was 1-0. Fulham.
Oh, Fulham, sorry.
Fulham, we absolutely...
I was at the next one of Wolves. Yeah.
Wolves was depressed. It was a carbon copy of Fulham. We had the chances, missed it, and they scored late on. And on Saturday, Jack Harrison's goals allowed, and he was offside. So I'm not saying we were unlucky because he was offside. That goes in. If that's like a legitimate goal, who knows what would have happened? But there's a real issue with this team now, whether it's with this manager. Is that the minute the opposition score,
the belief is gone.
It's basically over, and that's not a great place to be when you are. And again, listen, I'm not overreacting. I still think Everton end up 14th position, something like that. I think they'll be okay. I think the 3 promoted sides will go. I don't think there's any, in my mind, there's no doubt in that. And I think there's other teams like Brentford, Palace, I don't know, I'm not sure, Fulham, Bournemouth, who knows. I think we'll be in that mix with them, whichever way it drops out. But the disappointing thing for me is that where's the progress? And maybe they've just all gone, we're in a holding pattern till we get to the new stadium. That's how it feels. We're just almost like survival.
Yeah.
Till we get there and we can't do anything. But the one criticism I have, everything for me starts and finishes with recruitment. It's all about recruitment for me. And you can't, you've got to be buying players with value in the future, because all Everton's assets have been sold off, really. What have we got? Jared Brantwaite.
Yeah,
the only
he'll
one.
be next for sure.
Well, he's gone. Listen, he will be gone in a year's time. Yeah. We know that.
And they've done a good job with him, in fairness, to develop him.
Great, he's done great. And then hopefully O'Brien then takes that mantle and goes with that, and that's okay. But we've got rid of all the other assets. And then when you're looking at a team like Brighton at the weekend and what they've done, and I know they spent a lot of money this summer, and they have, and they're about to spend 40 million on Rutter, so be 160 odd, and they want to buy.
They did sell a lot of players for a lot of money, to be fair.
But they didn't spend money last year, so I get it. But they're gonna, if they get Ferdy Cagley in as well, the left back, then it'll be up to about 190 million. It's Brighton, and I know Euros, that'll be so about 150 million pound. Everton ain't spending 150 million pound anytime soon. That's Brighton.
Yeah.
So that shows you how far we've fallen just with them. But what they've done really well, like you just alluded to, Paul, is they've got players in, sold them and created a lot of money, a big budget, Everton aren't buying assets.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this, because I know, obviously, being Mr. Irish fan, football TV, and covering Ireland, covering Ireland.
You were right.
And all of that. You know more about Jake O'Brien than I do. I've seen him at Lyon. I think he'll be okay for us. I think once he gets in and gets the confidence, we'll see him grow, and that'll be fine. You look at. I just want to ask you: are you a little bit surprised that there was such a small pot of money when you see what happened Saturday? Why Everton bought Jake? Not why they bought Jake O'Brien. It's nothing to do with the player. But if you've got to allocate a pot of money there, why you buy someone who the manager then perceives as being fourth choice when there's glaring holes elsewhere? He's bemoaned the central midfield player. He did last week. We stretched in there last year when we had Andre Gomez and Amadou Onana, and we've only brought Irabunum in. He wasn't happy with that. And also, we know they're desperate for a right winger. He's been trying to get Nonto, the football club have, whether Sean Dyche has. Should that money not have been used on a priority position, do you think? Or are you sort of just going, you get what you can when you can?
I was surprised to see it and how it all kind of so quickly developed, to be honest. I would have thought that if we were going for a centre-back, it would have been later in the window.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have, not the situation we're in now, where we're looking for, as you said, a kind of speedster winger or someone who can kind of be versatile, because that seems to be what we're trying to kind of get. I would have thought that we would have been kind of maybe going with Nonto, and that probably would have been dragged out till the kind of final day or whatever with the usual case.
Still might.
Yeah. And then obviously we've got the situation with Dom as well. That's not helping things as well. So I don't know. I did think it was a bit of a surprise. I was obviously delighted to see him come in, but then it kind of comes to Saturday, and you're kind of going, well, why did you sign him? Even if you're not going to start him, and the game was lost, so we knew that when Holgate come on. So why not just go with the back three, put maybe Harrison right wing back for the sake of the last, I know there was a 9 minutes added on or whatever, but he would have got some minutes in there in the Premier League, and then you've no excuse not to play him the next game against Spurs or whoever, or the next home game or whatever. That's why it was surprising for me. It's quite baffling, and it kind of stinks of, like, even last year before Brantwick came in, and it was like persistent with Michael Keane, and we were losing games, and it's just like he just hasn't learned his lesson from it. It was just weird. But like in terms of Jake and him coming in, I'd love to kind of for him to come in and like get a goal or something and show the manager. But I predict that he probably won't play till the Doncaster game, the way Dyche is.
Yeah.
I think he won't get a look until then.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't. That's a week on Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Week tomorrow. So is it a week tomorrow?
Tuesday, 27th.
Yeah, so a week tomorrow. So that wouldn't surprise me, to be fair, because Spurs are away. But it is a bit mad. I thought Saturday when the game is dead. So when he decides to bring Mason Holgate on,
I wasn't helped.
Whether you like Holgate or you don't like Holgate, we know Mason. He's 27, 28 this year. We know that he's played in the Premier League. We know all that, but the game's dead. So you go to your new signing, Jake O'Brien, go in a back three. That we're getting done anyway.
Yeah,
go in a back three.
And we had a man down,
and we'll just go on there and just put yourself about. We might get a set piece or a corner and you go up, but put yourself about. Get some of that true Premier League experience in your body, and like you say, you get a taste of it and all of that. And it was just a bit of a strange one. What do we do this week then? Because obviously no Seamus Coleman, no Ashley Young, no James Garner, you can play right back, no Nathan Patterson, who's confirmed. We ain't got a right back, so it's either Roman Dixon, and he was asked about that afterwards, and he sort of just laughed it off. And then I think he sort of heard what he'd said out loud, and then tailed it off to go. But we'll see. He sort of like, I think it was Paddy Boylan who asked him and said, he didn't name check Roman Dixon, but he said any of the under 21s who might come into your thinking, and he sort of just laughed as if basically because they haven't got Premier League experience. Then he checked himself and went, but we'll have to wait and see. What do you imagine will happen? Do you think he'll go to a back three, or do you think he'll just say to Mason Holgate, just play right back because you've played there before?
I genuinely think he's that stubborn that I think he'll go with Holgate.
No,
I hope he doesn't. I don't know whether you're asking me what I'd love for him to do or what.
No, I'm just saying, what do you think he'll do? What would you do? Would you just play Jake O'Brien and go three? Or
I probably would, yeah, because I just think it's Spurs would be good regardless.
Yeah, no matter what
you know.
do.
So and we don't want to get another hammering. So you don't want to be going the first 2 games of the season. You've got hammered twice, 3-0, could have been 4. You know, and then you're playing Spurs, and if Son has a good day, you know what I mean. He can win a game by himself. And they always have good players. They've good attacking players, and they have what we don't have is pace, as you say. So I think if you could shore it up, and as you said as well, we're obviously better away from home. Then I think, and if we're going to be more pragmatic and sit back, then I think it would make sense to go with a back 3. Who plays right wing back? I would say Dixon, or I would like to see him there because I think he would have a bit of cover. But then if you're playing O'Brien and him in the same team, he's never doing it. Yeah. So, and there's no kind of protection unless he played maybe Jake through the centre, Michael Keane either side of him, and then Tarkovsky's talking to Dixon throughout. But I still don't see it happening. So I think it'll be the usual 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, whatever way you want to call it. And I think that would be, and I think Holgate, unfortunately, and I think Michael Keane will both start. And yeah, people won't be happy.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? You look at it because you think, why have we got new players then if you're not going to use them?
But it seems to be like that they're tailwind signings, and you'd imagine that they would work together to identify players. Otherwise, why are they being approved to be signed? Now, I understand, obviously, if anything happened to Dyche, we would want a manager who can come in and work with the same set of players, because we've been through so many managers and their players over the years that, you know, we're kind of still dealing with that now with Holgate and Michael Keane and that, although he had him at Burnley. But anyway, but that type of way in which, you know, all these managers coming in, I think now with Telway, you know, you kind of have to come in and work with the players that he's identified. And I think for the most part, the players that he's brought in have been good. But then again, you look at a situation like last year with Dan Hume, it's like, what was the point in having him there for the whole year? Just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It wasn't great. I thought Brighton, like I said, I thought they were there for the taking, really. I think they'll be a good side again. We know they will, but they were there Saturday. And if you're 2-0 down against a team that hasn't really started, that, you know, what does that say about you? I think for me, the final third, it's like we're playing the switch to Harrison, which that's all he'd worked on, trying to get it in behind their fullback. But I thought Jack Harrison worked his socks off, really, and, you know, he had the one where he cut in and the keeper's made a decent save, Steele. I think that might have been our only attempt on target in the game, to be honest.
On target, yeah.
But he got in a few times, but because he's left-footed and he doesn't stand it up, he tried to, and the odd time, and it didn't really work. He's got to check back all the time, so it's gone. The moment's gone. You're playing him in. The moment where you've got that yard or two to run in on a diagonal, he was stopping and checking back. And then we were getting one man in the box, so his cross has got to be absolutely on the money to create anything for it. And that, to me, I don't see that as being inventive enough. And I think that's why maybe in a die who might do something a little bit different, needs to be considered as soon as possible. Get him in the side. Lindstrom, who looks like a lovely footballer, but what have we brought him in for? Is he this year's Dan Hume? Now, it's only one game, and the manager might have a little pathway for them, and they end up playing loads, and I hope that is the case. And I think it will be. I don't think he'll just. I think the Dan Hume thing was done because it was easy, and Everton had done all the legwork in the January and all of that. I think Lindstrom, will have. It will have been discussed with Dyche, and I think he will get a go, I think, personally. But it's frustrating because we've gone back to, it's almost like we've gone back again to doing the things that, you know, everyone knew. And I think for Everton to move on slightly, there's got to be a little bit of unpredictability about it. And I think it was all very predictable. I mean, I picked the team last Wednesday of what it started on Saturday.
I remember listening, and I agreed with your time, thinking that is actually what's going to happen.
You know, and you get it and you go, yeah, well, yeah, knew that team. Knew Michael Keane would play, even though he trained once in 2 weeks, you know, through fitness and all that. We knew Jack Harrison and Dwight McNeil would be wide. We knew Decore would be off Dom. You know, and it's that moment. So we knew it. Brighton would have known it.
Yeah, I was
You know.
literally going to say that. Yeah, so if we're picking up on it, but just as you say there with Harrison, I would love to see him off the left.
Yeah.
Because I think like that what you're saying there about him, if that's a right-footed player, they do take it directly on because he has got to control it, stop, and turn back in every time. So it slows us down. It's not really necessarily his fault. He does pick up. I've actually been quite impressed with him pre-season against Sligo. He was the bright spark now, and Sligo aren't at the level of the Premier League, so don't get me wrong. And it was largely not their full team, but he was the only one who looked, again, technically good on the ball. You know, he sees different things, and he works socks off. And I think McNeil, he is what he is. He's quite one-dimensional. He's just run down the left wing, cross the ball in. But Ped said it earlier, like his set pieces are good. But he's not offering. I think what we need now, and I think you just might have said it last week on a show, was we need players to be adding goals and not just Dom, because, well, if he goes either way, we need players to be kind of contributing with goals as well as assists, because you can't just be relying on one striker to get the goal. I know Decore was the one getting goals last year, but if Dyche can contribute and Lindstrom and stuff like that, and McNeil and Harrison, then great, but history would say that's not going to be the case.
No, it is frustrating. I think the problem with Dwight McNeil at times is it's like special teams. If you give him time on the ball, he's got a lovely left foot on him and he can ping a shot, and we've seen that. If he can get the space, I actually think he's better central. I do. I think out wide, because Mykolenko doesn't fly down the wing, Dwight's never really got that space. He's not quick enough to get himself half a yard for the cross. And free kicks and set pieces, you know, corners, yeah, he's good at. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in the game, isn't there? So I think Jack Harrison, because he is a little bit quicker and direct, if he was coming in on them crossfield balls on his left foot, I think he'd be steaming into the box, and then he can just pull it across. And I think that's where Everton needs someone on the right who's a right footer. If you're playing that diagonal ball, or you can thread a couple of through balls, they can get in behind. And that's, to me, where there's a big glaring.
Yeah, because that's where we seem to be hitting Diags the whole time. Like nothing's coming over McNeil's way, you know.
No.
But like you said, or even someone who was both footed, you know, cut in on his left foot too. But like there's not too many of them around, unfortunately. But with McNeil, don't get me wrong, I like him, but he's not showing the form under Dyche's first season when he came in, and he was towards the back end. He was one of the reasons we stayed up.
Yeah, he
scored against Brighton,
got his goals, and
I'd love to see him get that level again.
Yeah. The problem is though that when you look at it over the averages, that was an anomaly that season. His goals are normally 1 or 2 a season, and that year he got 7, and he was great. You know, got space and he was banging them in, that left foot, lovely left foot on him. But if other people aren't creating space for him, he's out the game. And I genuinely forgot he was playing at the weekend till he hit the post with that sitter. He should have scored, by the way. He was on his own with the keeper and he somehow missed. I know it was offside, so it wouldn't have mattered. But like you said before, you just put it in. You put it in and you go again, don't you? And then he just faded out the game. He just wasn't in the game at all. And we need a little bit more, because we're going to need to be creative. We're going to need other people, like you said, to get us those goals. Because we probably won't be as good as we were defensively last year. And obviously we didn't have Branthwaite for this game as well. That passing out with the left foot, you can't underestimate how important that is to us.
And the balance, I suppose, of 2 left footers, 2 right footers.
What did you make of Irabunum?
Oh, he was brilliant. He was the only positive from the weekend. I just think he was the surprise package in a good way. Delighted to see someone kind of like that. And again, I don't know if people have already listened to what you said earlier, but I think Ped summed it up nicely when he was talking about kind of he's what we thought Onanan was gonna be. But not only is he good, tough tackling, he nearly scored as well. You know, he carried the ball forward and nearly angled one to the far corner, and then everyone was kind of going, "Wow, this fella's quite good." The fella sitting next to me, he was just like, he's been really good all pre-season here at Boonham, and he probably wouldn't have got his chance if Garner was there. You know what I mean? So I think if he can just keep going as he's going, I think he could have a really good season, and I think he might stake a claim to stay in that spot throughout if Dyche can trust him. That could then help us out in terms of if anything's happening on the right side. Like I liked Garner there when we kind of finished that end of season when he was on that kind of right
as a right back.
Well, I wouldn't keep him there, but it's just a good option if we're stuck, and he's not going to get done on the pace. Maybe more so like Seamus or Ashley Young, and I'd love for Patterson to come back and be brilliant, but again, history doesn't say that he will. But look, I'd give him one more chance, and if not, then I'd probably look to move him on. But in terms of Irabunum, really impressed with him. Yeah, what about yourself?
Some of the comments. Royce says it took us 7 games in last year's Premier League start before we won a game, so there is some hope. David Harris says Dyche needs to be sacked. Everton champions 85 says Dyche gave the finger to Thelwell with that team selection. I mean, who knows? Who knows if the manager decides what he likes and he goes with it, doesn't he? He's already said, hasn't he, that it doesn't matter kind of who they bring in. If he doesn't want to play, he won't play them. And that, you hope that they're working together. There's no suggestion they're not. But the manager has sort of said, I won't play them.
It's just bizarre though, Baz, to be honest. Like, why? If they're working on signings together, and that seems to be the case, and he's been there, 2 years now nearly, or just under. He came in after January, so whatever way.
Almost 2 years, yeah. Well, not almost, but it'll be 2 years in January, yeah.
So he's not far off that anyway, but like, you'd imagine that the last number of windows were probably 3 windows. This is the third, wouldn't it be? Yeah, so you'd imagine that, and he didn't spend anything in the first one, I don't think, from what I remember, because we were worried. Yeah. So he didn't. So the last 3 windows, he's worked with them, and you'd imagine by now they kind of know how they operate. But for them to not be agreeing on players would just be bizarre, because obviously you've only got a tight window to bring in players. So why not bring in players that you agree on? I think the players that Thelwell's brought in have been good, and I think they'll improve the team. But I think they need to be in the team to improve the team. And by the way that Dyche goes, and he's so stubborn, it's just it's mind-boggling, really. Now it might change, but it's the first game. It might change, and I hope it does. But it just, to hear that, like, who was the lad who said it there? He basically said that it seems like he was giving them the finger. It did, and I'd agree with him on that.
Liam Machen, hello. Just welcome Top Toffees, he's a member. Looking here, David, afternoon from sunny Cyprus. Hope you're enjoying Cyprus, mate. A little bit better than Goodison was at the weekend. Martin says it utterly frustrating as they were there for the taking in the opening 20 minutes. Gave us the ball from goal kicks numerous times. The manager's obsession with Premier League experience is laughable. Keane, Holgate, McNeil all have plenty of experience in letting us down. Bringing Holgate on is one of the worst subs I've ever seen. Tells you everything about the manager and the squad. On a positive note, though, thought Irabunum was excellent and Harrison was bright in parts.
Harrison was good as well as Irabunum.
Yeah, I think the thing with Jack Harrison is you know what you're going to get. He works hard for you. You know, he was trying to get shots away. He was going on a run. I think we should have a look at him on the other side, to be fair. Give him a go out there to see what he's like when he hasn't got to check back all the time. Can he get at half a yard and put it in front of Calvert-Lewin or other players who are in the box? He mustn't think that Dwight McNeil can play off the right.
Well, we remember on the Lampard how bad that was.
Well, yeah, it didn't. It hasn't really worked when Dwight's gone over there. So that's it. Then he's got a problem, then, hasn't he? If he thinks that he's got to play McNeil no matter what, then Harrison ain't getting in on that left-hand side. Where I think he should mix it up. Maybe play Dwight in the 10 then. If he's got to play, if you think I've got to play Dwight McNeil, which is he seems to think, play him as a number 10 then, and play Ndiaye on the right or Lindstrom on the right side. Even though they're both. The mad thing with that is they're both better in the 10. And they've got the Corey's in it. You know what I mean? So there's things there. There's some sort of issues there. But we've got to try a little bit different, haven't we? We've got to try and mix it. Use what we've got. Mix it a little bit.
Yeah, because we're too predictable. Like you predicted the lineup and you said Brighton probably predicted it too. You can tell kind of... I'd probably go as far as to say that we could probably pick the team for... the Tottenham game now, like, you know what I mean? So that's how predictable.
What'll be the change? Holgate for Young?
Yeah, that's it.
I can't see anyone else coming in. No one else seems like they're going to be fit. He sort of said that in his press conference afterwards. So it's Jake O'Brien or Mason Holgate will lose played in the Premier League. So therefore you'd sort of go, it'll be Mason Holgate. Now, he might surprise everyone, go to a 3 with Jake O'Brien. At least you go, well, you know what, he's trying something a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Holgate.
But I think that's where he would get more fans on board if he was a bit less stubborn, but he doesn't seem to care. He's just like, it's my way or the highway, and I don't really care what anybody else has to say. And he's just kind of been that way the whole time.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is, isn't it? We can't. Managers shouldn't necessarily, bout at the fans anyway, should they? But I just think if you're looking for that upbeatness as a fan, aren't you? When it starts against being difficult, and you're looking for that day one home game, got a chance of beating these. They're not fully up to speed with their new manager, even though they got good players. And you come out of Goodison, and a lot of people came out of Goodison 10 minutes early. I don't think I've ever seen it so empty with 10 minutes to play in a Premier League game, bar Southampton under Allardyce, the last game of the season when Tom Davis scored, although the fans did sort of stay till the end, then dispersed before the players done their walk around. It was very empty in those last.
Do you think as well, though, because of the extra minutes that there was, because it was 9?
No, there was not. I mean, which
that contributed to.
Again, I didn't fully understand what he was moaning about with the 9 minutes. I didn't want 9 minutes. I mean, I'm like,
we would have had 2.
like him. You're looking on the game's dead. Why are you playing it? But they've made a decision that they're gonna play this injury time, whatever it is. So there were stoppages and players were down. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna add it on, aren't they? If we were 1-0 down, he'd have been moaning he didn't play 9 minutes. Now, do you make that decision as a manager and go, if it's 3-0, I don't mind if you just play 3 minutes injuries. I don't know how it works, but I just thought that was a little bit curious as well. He might have just gone, that 9 minutes as well, I've done my head in. I wish he'd have called it after 2, but sort of like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, just on what you said there about the fans, I agree that you don't obviously bow down to them, but at the same time, you've got to give them something to get up for. And he didn't give us anything to get up for.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I know. But I'm just saying that he didn't give us anything. Like, fans want to get behind something, but if you're just going back to the same old thing, it's just going to infuriate fans rather than get them up for it. And like, he doesn't have to bow down to the crowd or anything like that. But you saw when like Dyche came on, the cheer he got just because he's a new face, and just like that. I think you said it about O'Brien as well. If people saw him, they would have been like, "Here's a new face," even though it's coming on. It maybe would have killed the negativity a little bit, not wholeheartedly, because the result was what it was. But you look at that and you think, there's something to get the fans behind, is bring a couple of new players in and give us something new look to our team and a little bit of mystery, of what could happen if we.
What about Lindstrom? Because Jesper's there, we're 3-0 down at home, and he's not, even 5 minutes in the end, just put him on so the crowd can have a look, but we'll see. David Murphy on the super chat says, told you last season Dyche is a PE teacher.
He looked like one on the weekend.
At least he had the trachea. Mark says, you think there is no point in bringing new players in? He won't play them. He'll just stick with the same team all season. Pre-season's shown that when he wouldn't give Beto and Dyche or Jesper many minutes. I think you've got to bring players in if you can. You've got to, because they've got to be an option, haven't they? You can't. But I think what that should have done at the weekend, forget about Dyche for now, what that should have done at the weekend was Haste and Kevin Thelwell thinking, we need, however it is, I don't know how you do it, but they need to create some funds from somewhere to bring players in, because
at least 2.
They need 2 players at least. Yeah. At least to freshen it up. And then it's on the manager then, isn't it? If you give the manager more tools and he doesn't use them, we know who's the issue, don't we?
Yeah.
And therefore, but
I'd argue as well, if Dom goes, we probably need 4. As in 2, 4.
I think if Dom and Calvert-Lewin did go, I think they'd bring 3 in at least. Because if he got 20 million for him, it's down payments on players. No one asks for more than 5 million really as a down payment. You can bring those players in. PSR-wise, Everton are fine, just haven't got any cash right now.
I think they would go and get Nanto and probably maybe a loan and maybe a forward then with down payments. I think that would be, and I'd be happy enough with that. But then you still have players like Maupay there. Like, is he going to go?
I think I think Maupay will go sort of the last day. I think he'll have 9 months or something left on a contract. I think someone will just either
Either a loan or whatever,
I
yeah.
think so. If you're paying 3 or 4 million for Neil Maupay, it's buttons, isn't it? He's got 6-7 goals in the Premier League.
I just hope that if he does go, he doesn't go, it's as embarrassing as it is to say, with someone around us to help them, you know. I'd rather if he was gone, he just went to maybe another league or something.
Leeds should take him.
Yeah, maybe that
Leeds,
could be so.
Look, take him. They need a couple of our players the way they are at the minute. Harry James Tattoo says, so Brighton's best player had no Premier League experience. Funny that, isn't it? Dyche wouldn't have played him over his mates. I'm still fuming. The irony of that at Saturday is that Minter, I've said this before, but, you know, Premier League, a manager with no Premier League experience, a right winger with no Premier League experience, crossing it to a winger who came in from Asia with no Premier League experience has been outstanding. You know, there's a beautiful irony in it almost. And Minter wouldn't have played for us if we'd have signed on. He wanted to come, which I didn't get all this holding the badge bit, by the way, by him, which was a bit mad. But if he'd have been in an Everton shirt, he would have been on the bench probably because he's not played in the Premier League. So it's mad, isn't it? I think he's got it. For me, with Sean Dyche, he's got to get over that. He's got to start going. Going with players. Forget about whether they can cope. You see them in the Premier League, whether he can cope, don't you? Yeah. Look at Tim Irabun and we're sat here. I think Pedigree's going. He was our best player at the weekend. We all know he wouldn't have played if James Garner was fit. He just wouldn't.
Yeah, but I think that's why fans are frustrated as well. Like we obviously are as well. It's that, like, you think you would have got over that a long time ago, to be honest. Like, we're not Burnley, and they probably would have relied on, and, you know, Premier League experience, or someone who you can lump a ball up to, and, you know, or someone who's solid in the tackle, or Tarkowski type a player who he absolutely does. And I think he's been great for us, Tarkowski, don't get me wrong. Don't think he had his best game the other day, but largely over his period he's been very good. But that's the type of player that he likes, is someone who's solid, a battler and whatever. He just doesn't seem to like any sort of flair players at all. And that's why when I see, you know, players like Ndiaye and that, you're going, will they ever get an opportunity? So yeah, it's. But then Jake as well, you'd imagine someone like Jake, you look at, you think that is a Dyche type player that he would like. You know, he's built like a brick, he's huge, and he's physical, and that's, you think again, is a Dyche type player, and then he doesn't get picked. So it seems that no matter what you look like or what you're shaped like, until you get your Premier League opportunity, which could be whenever, you don't get picked. Or he's superstitious apparently about kind of playing players on their Prem debut in the first game of the season, apparently.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Jez says Dyche talks about Premier League experience, but seems to overlook the experience of us and him actually watching these players playing in the Premier League. Steve P says how people are saying we've had a good window is beyond me. We haven't improved the starting 11. We brought in the third choice centre back, well, fourth choice centre back. Pedder's dived. And 2 attacking midfielders who are either going to be played out of position or warm the bench. Because let's be honest, Dyche isn't playing them over McNeil, Harrison or Decore. We all said we needed 9. We've signed 4. Haven't signed a winger, which is insane. Harrison doesn't count because he was already here. It's another failure again. But thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, but sorry, just one thing that we didn't touch on. I know you've touched on it just over the summer. Is in the fullback positions. We are like one injury away on Mikalenko's side from an absolute disaster all across the board. Now I know McNeil could probably fill in there if needs be, but he's not a natural left back. Nope. Ashley Young's out now suspended, whether you like him or not. He can play there and he's the backup. So we are really, that's another position I'd be looking at is probably left back, right wing and striker, depending on Dom. If not, then another midfielder. I think that's where we're, you know, there are weak positions.
People go on about the right and the right, you know, because ideally I'd want Patterson to nail it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
think most of us would. Yeah.
But I understand why people are going, yeah, well, he's not playing him, so we could. But the left back one is just a glaring one to me, because Mikalenko gets injured. We wait for Young to come back, who's right footed, and put him at left back. You know, that to me, I can't get my head around. Yeah. You know. But hey ho. Gare says Dyche has very little about him as a manager, so he has to push this idea of Dyche fitness because that's all he has. This is a manager who openly admitted the squad hadn't done any tactical work midway through the pre-season. He is what he is, and he's a manager for the situation we're in, but roll on the days when we are in the new stadium with an ambitious owner and a forward-thinking manager and some decent players. Connor, congratulations on your first child.
Congrats.
Hello to the lady I spoke to this morning in the co-op as well, who was talking about the match.
Down here?
It was her birthday, just down there, yeah. It was her birthday on Saturday, Evertonian.
Yeah.
Obviously, season ticket
That's
holder, went the match,
Best
was all excited, and Everton ruined it for her, but we had a nice chat this morning, so hello to you. He didn't give me your name, so I can't tell you who it is. Terry said, I've always been one for giving Dyche a chance, but he's incapable of changing his selection process. The same players constantly let us down. Everything is just on Dyche. He picks the starting 11. It's not good enough. Emma says, and Ped's gone out the room, Emma, otherwise I would ask him, but says, serious question, you know I love a good conspiracy theory, but do you think Dyche might be trying to get sacked? Why else would he put that team out? He knows exactly how the fans feel about Keane, Young and Holgate. He knows what he said about the fans would get our backs up. What did you make of him, what he said about the fans?
I just find him odd in general. So his comments that are odd, I'm just like, that's just the way he is. I've seen talks of him being linked with the England job, and I'm like, yeah, he's not doing his case much use with the players that he's picking at the weekend for that. But I think Lee Carr's will be nailed on for that now, depending on how the Nations League goes, which will obviously be against us. But I still like Lee. If you're watching, I still like you. But yeah, no, the Dyche himself, I just don't get him. There's part of me where I'm thinking, okay, we're in the kind of similar mode now of Moyes, but Moyes wasn't like that at all. Like, Moyes got the club. Moyes was very much just us against everybody, whereas Dyche is like, it's him and his squad against everybody. It's not the fans and him. It's like there's a disconnect.
There is a disconnect.
Yeah,
because Ped always talks about this, and I sort of understand where I do sort of I understand what he's saying, because it is like that. You see, I think people put Moyes in the same bracket as Dyche, and yet Moyes is 10 times more attacking manager than Sean Dyche, easily. Yeah. West Ham are brilliant under Moyes. They didn't dominate the ball. We know that. But you don't need to dominate the ball if you've got good attacking players. Come look at the players that Moyes signed. And they were Moyes' signings, by the way. None of this, the West Ham stuff, because he just wouldn't have it.
Yeah, Paqueta, these types of players. Jarrod
Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, good attacking footballers, went for it. Where Sean Dyche isn't that, I'm not having a go with him for not being that type. He is what he is. We know the type of manager he is. And expecting him, I guess, to change to be what we want, it's not really going to happen. If you've done something that, if your sort of MO is 17th and 16th, 17th in the Premier League and stay safe, and you've delivered that in general, where you've created this being dead fit and getting sweat on your shirt and all of that mantra, which to me is quite basic, but it's all of that stuff should be an absolute given anyway, even if you are the best player. I mean, Pep Guardiola talks about that. You don't work hard, you don't play, and yet he's got some of the best footballers in the world. So that to me is something that should just be a given anyway.
Do you want to put the conspiracy question to him?
I'll go back to him. But in general,
are we trying to get himself sacked?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Because we're just talking about Paul saying,
he's got too much pride for that.
Paul saying sort of kind of what you see. He just doesn't get him. There's like, when it was Moyes included us against everybody. Whereas Sean Dyche, Paul saying Sean Dyche seems to be like it's him and the squad against everyone, including us.
No, I do. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I don't get him. I've never got him. That doesn't mean I'm not like, I want him to do well. I just don't get him. The way he talks, I don't get. The way he's always trying to make clever jokes that nobody gets, I don't get. He rubs me up the wrong way. He always has. And I'm consistent with that. It doesn't mean I don't like... It's hard because it's not like I'm saying I don't like him. I don't get him. He just... As I said, he rubs me up the wrong way. The things he says, I think his press conferences are baffling. I think he's always like, he'll go, what do you mean by that? Oh, money messing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like the thing he said on Saturday about the fans. Well, what's he saying? What's he trying to convey in that? Because half of the fans are like, well, I thought he meant this, and half of the fans are like, well, I thought he meant that. And I'm like, well, what did you mean? Just speak. If you go, I think the fans should have stuck with us there and stayed to the end. Do you know what? Absolutely no problem if he says that. I was there to the end, but I understand why no. But then if he said that, then you could counter that by saying, but you brought on Mason Holgate, and that's like literally that's a no at this football club. You've bombed a player and then you've brought him back, and fans will just go, nah, you've give up, mate. 3-0 down, you've just brought a player on that nobody wants at this club. Whereas if you had Dixon on the bench and you had brought him on, then fans would go, it's giving this young lad a go at least. Let's see what
O'Brien.
happens. Or O'Brien, whoever. Well, I'd rather it was Dixon because I wanted a right back on, but I could understand going to a 3.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I do find the style he has of like almost like confrontational, but it was only a joke. I just don't get that personality. And I know, listen, there's loads of fans out there who like him. And I'm not saying, as I said, it's not a thing of like he's a one-dimensional manager who's sometimes you look at it and go, is he getting the best out of the squad? And you can go, yeah, he probably is, because maybe they're not a very good squad. And he'll go, see, I'm getting something out of this. And then there's another side of it, and you go, I've seen worse teams and people get more out of them. But as I said, it's more just like, I can't be arsed with them. And that's only going to lead to one thing for me. That leads to me going, you know, I'm not prepared to give you a chance. I've got no interest in you whatsoever. You're not a good representation for Everton Football Club as the manager. I get why you are the manager, but it's like, I just don't get it. I just don't get his personality whatsoever. This style of like being funny, it just doesn't cut with me whatsoever.
I think, like Paul said, it's like you've sort of got to get us all on the same page, haven't you? And go, it's us. We haven't got anything else. It's all us.
But I've said to you loads of times, Baz. I've said to you loads of times about different managers. If a manager said, do you know what, this lot today could hear a pin drop out there? Or what's going on? Or why are they getting off early? I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem with a manager pushing the fans and going, I expect more out of this fan base. Klopp did it to them lot, and they all went, oh, and then some of them went, you're absolutely right. Loads of them went, you're absolutely right. And then that leads into other things then of like people who gets the tickets and this thing and that thing and the other, and that's not applicable to us as such. But I just like I was there to the bitter end, and I'm sitting here and the ground's like literally empty, and it was just like being at some kind of weird.
I haven't seen
weird friendly
like that.
But that happens because you go 3-0 down and you bring on Mason Holgate, and this is the same thing about playing Michael Keane. You don't do those things. You do not do them. You give the new lad an opportunity. You can't just keep going back to a well that's got bloody shitty water that's being put in there by United Utilities. Other water companies are available. You know what I mean? It's just like I think it's just. I don't get it. I
didn't leave, but I felt like leaving, and I stayed to the end of it.
We must have been the only three there.
But I was literally sat there thinking, I could get up and go here because there's just nothing here. It was just watching.
It was done, wasn't it?
It was just watching lads sort of arguing with each other on the pitch, which they were, because they didn't know where they were playing. They were like looking across for it. And last time I saw that was Arsenal beating us 3-0.
That's another thing though, isn't it?
And
that's another thing, isn't it?
Where am I playing?
We go down to 10 men. Why isn't there like decisive action right then?
Three of them.
Why isn't there like an action right then that says, right, you off, him on, straight away?
You have to deal with it.
Yeah, it took like 5 minutes for it to happen.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I mean, Paul says thoughts on fans leaving before full time. Personally, I stayed till the final whistle, but fully understand everybody.
If it was 1-0, I'd be like, where you all going?
Yeah,
we've got an opportunity.
Yeah.
But 3-0 and you've made a decision to bring Mason Holgate on, I've got no issue with
if
anyone.
you'd put like Lindstrom on even, like an attacker, you'd have gone, well, at least he's like seeing if we can grab a goal back, even though we're wide open.
I think it was when the fourth goal went in that was disallowed. Everyone went because they thought,
it
was staying. And even
were you surprised when he tapped it in? I wasn't.
No, but I was surprised to see it real low. But was relieved in a sense as well. I was probably thinking about goal difference already.
Already. Bill says we need 3 issues sorted with a matter of urgency. The Dom situation, is he staying or going? We need to know if he's going. Replacement needs to be brought in. Second, the right back situation is glaring. 2 are injury prone and 1 who is a 40-year-old, a liability. And thirdly, we need pace. We need a pacey forward in the next few weeks. And lastly, I mean, you've said 3 and now you've gone 4. Dyche needs to stop playing his favourites regardless and play his best team. We looked undercooked and disjointed on Saturday. Ross says really can't stand Dyche. His decisions baffle me at times. I personally get Moyes in, get rid. Matt says hopefully this is the least ends the silly. We've got 5 players who can play right back, so we're fine. We've got one who can play left back, Matt, and that's a silly argument that Evertonians say we need a left back ASAP. So I'll raise it's a silly argument saying we've got all these right backs when if Michalenko gets injured in training and the lad does pick up injuries, we are knackered because we ain't even got someone who can play left back.
Even that, like, you bring in a replacement, they're not a natural left back. Ashley Young's not a natural left back.
No.
You know what I mean? So.
No. Everton Viking says cannot bear Dyche and his Scotch egg Brexit footy. He's so far behind in his views and tactics. Jay says, Baz, I wish I had your confidence in the team to stay up. We aren't progressing, and if you don't progress, you go backwards. I'm raging at this club and team. Okay. Fair play, mate. I mean, I think we had this discussion last year and I was proven right. But you might be right. I just look at it and think the Premier League, there's like a top 10 and the others. I watched a few of the games over the weekend. There's some poor sides as well as us, don't get me wrong, in there as well. So and I think the 3 promoted teams won't get 30 points. None of them will get 30 points. So I think we'll be all right. But that shouldn't be our marker, should it? Oh, them 3 mightn't get 30 points, so we're all right. What a terrible thing. Because, you know, if we carry on doing what we're doing, we will go. Yeah. If we just keep trying to go, well, we'll sell him and then we'll replace with worse. We won't get any assets in the team because they haven't got Premier League experience. We won't buy any pace because I don't really like that. We will get relegated. Of course we will.
There's only so long you can circle that black hole before you get sucked in.
You've got to start going, right, we've had a lucky escape and everything does get better from next summer. You know, money improves so you can buy more players. We've got to have some assets, surely. Yeah, surely we have.
Absolutely.
Haven't we? But we've had one game, by the way. We've had one game, so as much as we're a bit down, Jay, and I sort of get it, if we'd have won, I wouldn't be saying any different. If we'd have won 3-1 Saturday, I wouldn't be going, tell you what, little outside bet for Europe. I'd have been going, we'll finish between 11th and 14th, which is exactly where I thought we'd finish on Friday. So win, lose or draw at the weekend. If Brighton would have come to Goodison and we couldn't get near them, I'd be going, you know, rethink here. But they battered us under Lampard where we didn't get near them. We couldn't get near them. They beat us 4-1. We shouldn't have even been on the same pitch with them. On Saturday, until Young got sent off, they were winning 2-0. I don't know how. And they'll be a good side and we'll progress. But I think I know someone was speaking to David Weir at half time and he was a bit like, yeah, we are lucky to be winning here. You know, and by the end, they could have won 5-0 because when Young went off, they totally.
But isn't that just our problem, top and bottom, though?
The what?
Isn't that just our problem, top and bottom?
Oh, yeah,
one
yeah,
chance
yeah.
and they took it.
No, I'm not sort of.
No, that's it, though, isn't it?
The danger signs were there when Pedro hit the post.
Yeah. 25 minutes. For 25 minutes, we were like huffing and puffing. And then
we were in the. That's what I mean. That's why I think we'll be all right.
And they were finding their feet. They were trying to play out the back and we were stopping it. And then they got one decent chance and they put it away. And they never looked back. And that's what teams do.
Yeah.
We don't seem to be able to do that.
Brian says, thought we got the whole game, the approach of the game wrong. We pressed high, left space behind the defence and a real pacey side. Would have been better off with a low block. Bill says, new season, one change to the team and it's keen for Branthwaite. Simu had a good game for Ghana. Any wonder we look terrible. Richie said, you get the feeling when we have a good opening spell like on Saturday, there's no urgency from a front line to get the goal. It's almost a sense of we're on top now, so this is how the game will go. Absolutely, mate. I thought Calvert-Lewin and the Corey could have ran a bit harder. The pair of them were just sort of jogging around where Brighton were putting themselves on. The minute we pressed them, they kicked it out for a throw-in. There were so many times we should have nicked the ball and scored, and there's no urgency. There's no urgency. I don't know where that comes from. So, yeah. David says, sorry, but Dyche is never going to change the way he selects and sets up the teams. Mahak says, Moyes is still available. Stephen Segerberg says, I've never left the game in 40 years of watching Everton until Saturday. Losing isn't the problem. It's the type of football Dyche is having us playing. Totally outsmarted tactically by a 31-year-old. He's clueless, and I'm sure some of the players must question his dinosaur tactics. How has he got 10 years of Premier League manager is baffling.
10 years Premier League experience.
Mark says, all right, fellas, the Red Men are saying Branthwaite's odds on to join Liverpool. Do you guys think it's likely? No. I think there's any chance, personally.
No. I do, just on like, I think someone said it there about, they were worried about us going down already. I don't think you can really look at the season properly till after the transfer window's shut, because you know who you have available, and then you have a couple of weeks that we can't afford to go 7 games without a window like last year. Like if we can get a win early doors and maybe shift it, to a good bit of momentum, then but our forward line might change between what it is from the first game to maybe the 5th. Like Dom could go, Decore could be out of the team, and Ndai could be in there with a new striker in there, whoever that may be, or he might go with Beto, and then you've got Ndai up there. So it would be interesting to see kind of how the next couple of weeks pan out, and then we can kind of see what we're looking at. It's too hard, I think, for us. Other teams can kind of plan, like Man City, and go, right, we plan to be, winning the league or whatever. Arsenal, we need a player to kind of get us to that next stage. Whereas Everton, I don't think, when we've been like this the last number of seasons, is that until the window shuts, there's so much uncertainty about that. Until we have that certainty, I don't think we can really push on.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue, mate. But just have to see, like I said, it's dead easy. It's dead easy to go, yeah, let's bloody, we're going down. We got beat 3-0 at home. We're getting relegated, blah, 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 blah. Of course it is. And the same as if we'd have won, I think some people... I'd seen people last week saying we're getting into Europe, and I was like... Not saying it couldn't happen, because you can't rule anything out. Not saying we can't be relegated, because you can't rule anything out. But I just think there's frustration there, because nothing seems to change, even though we've got players in, we don't put them in the team. So it's almost like, what's the point then? You're not gonna try to improve with these new players. Are we just... Like, why have we gone back to Mason Holgate? No, nothing against Mason, but the manager decided a year ago he didn't want him and he should go. And if everyone was fit, Holgate wouldn't have even been in the squad. But then he's coming on before Jake O'Brien. Like, we paid money for a centre-back, and then we don't put him on when we're 3-0 down, and that's a defender. Lindstrom, come from Napoli, was really... If we'd have bought him when he'd been in Germany or Frankfurt, everyone would have been going, what a signing that is, because he'd been excellent. Doesn't get on the pitch. Little things like that. And you go... There's got to be some hope. There's got to be something where you go, okay, that's a terrible result. We get on with it. We've lost home games so many times before. And I know it can be, it's emotion, so I don't mind anyone going, we'll win the league if you win the game, or we're getting relegated if you get beat. But you want something to go, it'll be all right. And I do think it'll be okay, but at what's okay? Because we are just sort of in a state of limbo. We don't know who's going to buy us, and it might be John Textor, and if he's doing it, great, get it, and let's try and move forward. Free can come back in now because they think they're going to lose it to Textor, whoever, but that ownership needs sorting. But no matter what, Everton have got to create something in the next 11 days now of a transfer window where you bring two players, and one of them's got to be quick. And it's okay saying, well, we'd only have one quick player, though. The else better than having no quick players, and because at least you've got something to where teams go, we have to be careful with him because he's got the pace. Because at the moment everything's so like one-dimensional, and that'll work in some games. We'll nick games, we know we will, but is that really where we are? Are we just treading water from year to year? Because that's how it feels like, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But the only thing I will say is I don't think our starting 11 or the 11 on the pitch would be as bad as it had been on Saturday again this season. Well, I hope anyway.
I think it's bloody helpful
because we have got good players on the bench. Is what I mean by that. Like when they start getting a run, you'd be hopeful then that results would swing as well in our favour. Like O'Brien playing, Lindstrom, Ndai. If these players are played, I think they would obviously help us, and we'd be in a much stronger position. And it also kind of gives us that little bit of mystery because we are so predictable right now with McNeil and Harrison and our midfield. So that's I'm just trying to be, I suppose, optimistic.
That's good because it can't be. We've played one game of football. You can't go, well, that's it's over. We lost the first 4 home games last season and went 4 months without winning a game and had 8 points taken off and still stayed up by miles. So it can happen, but it's just that deflatedness that you don't want on day one, and then you go into Spurs at the weekend with injury. You're just sort of like, Here we go again.
And we're kind of a draw would be a good result.
Take me back to the Olympics a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Listen, things can only get better. Absolutely. Listen, me and Paul will be talking about everything else that happened in the Premier League at 2:30 on More Than a Game. So put the super highway magical Harry Potter, other wizards are available link. You don't have to do anything other than refresh your drink, and we can talk about other stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Thanks very much to everybody who's joined us, made a super chat, all of that, members who've got in touch with us, all our Premier members. We'll see you in a bit. See you later.